Good morning. I'm Tiana Hale, Coordinator of Community Engagement for Frederick County Public Schools. I would like to welcome everyone here today to our annual Central Office Veterans Day program. Would you please rise for the national anthem and remain standing through the Pledge of Allegiance?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. At this time, we would like to take a moment to introduce our special guest for today's program. We are excited to have with us a number of student performers, including vocalists from the Academy for the Fine Arts. Danielle Baer, Sam Fons, Carly Hatcher, Annika Hawkins, Lauren McFarland, Ileana McFate, Denna Rovito, Deacon Withers, Joshua Wittenberg. Trumpeters, Neil Bosseler and Lily Sheckett from Governor Thomas Johnson High School. Our nominees for the Veteran and Education Service Award and their special guests. Colonel Fred Schumacher, U.S. Army, retired, former chair of the Frederick County Veterans Advisory Council. Colonel John Furr, United States Air Force, retired. Mr. Stephen Hine, President and CEO of Woodsboro Bank. School board members, President of the Board, Mr. Jay Mason. Vice President of the Board, Ms. Karen Yoho. And member of the board, Brad Young. Dr. Terry Albin and Dr. Michael Marco. Since the founding of our nation, more than 41 million Americans have answered the call to service. But who are these veterans? They are individuals who serve their country at home or abroad, in peacetime or during times of conflict, on land, sea, air, and space. The United States is home to approximately 19 million veterans, comprising less than 10% of our population. Today, we gather to honor all who have and are serving in the United States Armed Forces, and to highlight those who have continued their call to service as part of our FCPS family. Though Veterans Day was originally commemorated as Armistice Day and intended to honor those who fought in World War I, at the urging of veterans, Congress changed the name of the holiday in 1954 from Armistice Day to Veterans Day. Today, we pause to honor the service and sacrifice of so many. Dr. Alban recognized Veterans Day at Wednesday's board meeting, and today we gather as a community to honor all who put on a uniform in service to our nation. At this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Jay Mason, President of the Frederick County Board of Education. Mr. Mason will provide comments on behalf of the board.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing today? Great, great. Veterans Day is a celebration of patriotism, service, commitment, and sacrifice made by all those who have served in the United States military. A veteran is a former member of the Armed Forces of the United States, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and Space Force, who served on active duty and was discharged under conditions which were other than dishonorable. The definition of Veterans Day, originally known as Armistice Day, is a U.S. federal holiday observed annually on November 11th for honoring military veterans. We celebrate Veterans Day on the anniversary of the armistice that ended World War I. A brief side note, November 11th, 2021 was the 100th year anniversary of the interment of the World War I unknown soldier in Arlington National Cemetery. If you have not taken the opportunity to visit Arlington National Cemetery, I would highly encourage everyone to do so. Would the veterans in attendance today please stand? We thank you for your service. Please be seated. My father-in-law served as a sentinel at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in the early 80s. As a member of the Society of the Honor Guard Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, he often says, "A soldier never dies until they are forgotten." Tomb guards never forget. This mantra would serve us all well. We, as a grateful nation and community, and as individuals, must remember all those who serve, have served, who allow us to enjoy our freedoms each day. George Washington once said that a nation is judged by how well it treats its veterans. In addition to remembering and thanking veterans, perhaps a renewed call to action for veterans' unemployment, homelessness, physical and/or mental health issues may be warranted. We should continue to ask ourselves, what can we do for those who served us? The U.S. military has been an all-volunteer force since 1973. There are approximately 1.4 million active duty military with an average age of enlisted military members is slightly over 27 and 34 and a half years for officers. Today we honor all who have served and protected our country's freedom at great sacrifice to themselves and their families. Our veterans are our American heroes. From the Frederick County Board of Education, thank you very much for your service, and we appreciate all you have done for our country. Thank you.
Next in our program, we have a special student performance. Please join me in welcoming back our vocalists from the Academy for the Fine Arts to perform Shenandoah, arranged by Marshall Bartholomew. Following their performance, Dr. Terry Alban, Superintendent of Frederick County Public Schools, will share her Veterans Day message.
O Shenandoah, I long to see you and hear your rolling river. O Shenandoah, I long to see you where we're bound. 'Tis 7 long years since last I see thee, and hear your rolling river. 'Tis 7 long years since last I see thee, when we're bound away across the wide Missouri. When first I took a rambling notion to leave your rolling river, to sail across the briny ocean, we're bound away across the wide Missouri.
Thank you again to our students from the Academy of Fine Arts. I always judge the quality of a performance by the goosebumps I have, and there are many on my body right now. That was amazing. And thank you to your teacher, Kathleen. You inspire them and bring out the absolute best they have to offer. So thank you so much for giving us your time today. Can we give them another round of applause? This week, I had the wonderful opportunity to participate in the Veterans Day celebration at Oakdale High School. Dr. Schroeder, a teacher at Oakdale High School and a veteran himself, organizes this event every year and invites veterans to visit classes and talk to students about their experiences and what it means to serve our country. There were veterans in attendance who had served in every conflict since World War II. And looking at those World War II veterans, seeing the pride in their eyes as the national anthem was sung, watching them interact with students and other guests, and wondering what memories were being stirred within them during this time with our students, it just filled me with awe. And that's what Veterans Day fills me with, awe. When a person makes a commitment to serve in the military, they are agreeing to whatever sacrifice is required to fulfill that promise to protect and defend our country. And those sacrifices come in so many forms. Thank you. It's one of the few times in my life people didn't think I was loud enough. There are physical sacrifices, the endurance required in basic training and on the battlefield, pushing one's body to the limits, regardless of the fatigue, the pain, the hunger, or the incredible discomfort. Consider the pain of losing a limb or suffering a traumatic brain injury, the incredible sacrifice required for rehabilitation and adjusting to a whole new lifestyle going forward. There are emotional sacrifices, the time away from loved ones, and the special milestones missed with spouses or parents or children. The need to constantly adjust to new surroundings, whether it be at a new base assignment or in a foreign country during deployment. Watching the emotional impact on your family members in those settings or during deployment, and understanding that sacrifice and service are demanded of families of veterans as well. And what about the emotional scars that stay with our veterans for the rest of their lives after experiencing the horrors of war? The sacrifices made by the many men and women who serve our country and ensure our freedom need to be recognized and remembered. Veterans Day is one day when we pause to reflect and offer gratitude, but our veterans deserve much more. They deserve a nation where citizens work to support our country and its democratic ideals. A nation where citizens embrace the rights we have been granted and work to ensure those rights are extended to every single man, woman, and child. When Americans work to fulfill the democratic values of our nation, we honor the courage and sacrifices of our veterans, and that is the thanks that they deserve every day. To all of the veterans who now serve FCPS, I offer my unending gratitude and appreciation for your service. To all American veterans, I thank you for my country and the opportunity to do what is right in service to the democratic ideals and values for which you served. At this time, we would like to pause and salute all of our veterans. So first, let us recognize those who are with us for our program today. And would the veterans in our audience please stand so we can applaud you? Thank you, and we'll be hearing more about this special group in a few minutes. You can be seated. And next, I would like you to join me in honoring veterans across our school system who are highlighted in our annual Veterans Day video.
Frederick County Public Schools is dedicated to strengthening our community by providing a high-quality education that reaches, challenges, and prepares our students for a global society. Integral to that mission is the nurturing of relationships with families and the entire community, sharing responsibility for student successes, and demonstrating pride in all aspects of our school system. We have made it a priority to encourage and sustain collaborations across our community to support the success of our students. These collaborations have helped make this program possible. Today we have with us Colonel Fred Schumacher, U.S. Army retired, and former chair of the Frederick County Veterans Advisory Council. The County Council created the VAC in 2018 to advise the county executive on issues of importance to veterans and their families. The VAC also serves as a conduit for information and resources for the county's 18,000 veterans and their families who may need assistance furthering their education, finding employment, receiving counseling, or other services. Colonel Schumacher served in the 3rd Infantry Division, 82nd Airborne Division, ROTC duty at Penn State University, the 98th Training Division in Rochester, New York, the Full-Time Management Center in St. Louis. His last assignment was with the U.S. Army Physical Disability Agency at Walter Reed Army Medical Center. He is a graduate of the Infantry School, Airborne School, Ranger School, Command and General Staff College, and the Defense Strategy Institute. Colonel Schumacher and his family have lived in Frederick for the past 24 years. His daughters attended Spring Ridge Elementary, Governor Thomas Johnson Middle, and Governor Thomas Johnson High School. Please join me in welcoming Colonel Fred Schumacher, who will provide comments on behalf of the Veterans Advisory Council, after which Dr. Markle will announce the Veterans in Education Awards.
Dr. Alban, Mr. Mason, Colonel Fair, it's a great honor to stand before you today, a day after Veterans Day, and talk about what the Veterans Advisory Council is attempting to do in Frederick. As was articulated, we owe a great deal to our veterans, and part of that Veterans Advisory Council is to make sure the tremendous resources that exist in Frederick County are available to the veterans. And one of the exciting things that's going to occur in 2022 is the establishment of the Veterans Service Center, where we're able to co-locate all the different activities that have resources for veterans in one building and one location. So the veteran doesn't have to go throughout the highways and byways of Frederick County to find those resources. That being said, wanted to say thanks to the vocalist, and I'm sure the trumpet players will do an excellent job on echo taps. But I wanted to address the bulk of my remarks to those individuals who've been nominated for their school system for the Veterans in Service Award. Obviously, your service did not stop on the day of discharge. You continued to render guidance, leadership, and example to the students in the Frederick County Public Schools. As we have seen, there are a number of individuals who have service to the country in the school system. But I wanted to thank you personally for each of you for the work that you do on a daily basis to not only educate the students of Frederick, but also to show them the example of what service to country, service to the community means. So thank you, and good luck to the awardees.
Thank you, Colonel Schumacher, for your remarks, but as well as your service. Thank you very much. John Adams wrote, if we do not lay out ourselves in the service of mankind, who shall we serve? I can think of no higher service than the service of our men and women who serve and have served in the armed forces, and we honor them on this day. In 2017, Frederick County Public Schools launched a new systemic award, the Veteran in Education Service Award. The purpose of this annual system recognition is to honor an FCPS employee who served our nation in the armed services and has continued their call to service through the work they do with Frederick County Public Schools. Each fall, nominations for the award are accepted from staff, students, parents, and other community members. And all nominees are honored as part of our annual Frederick County Public School Veterans Day program. Frederick County Public Schools is fortunate to have many community partners who support our system, mission, and goals. The Veteran Education Service Award is made possible through the generosity of Woodsboro Bank and our award sponsor, Mr. Stephen Hine, President and CEO of Woodsboro Bank, is with us today to help us recognize these deserving nominees. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Hine to say a few words on behalf of Woodsboro Bank, after which I invite him, Dr. Albin, and Ms. Bernard to renew our partnership agreement.
Well, good morning. Thank you. And I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to be here because, in the end, it's because of the vision of Dr. Albin, Dr. Marco, Ms. Bernard, and certainly carrying on with Mr. Mason that we recognize you who have served our country. You really do you represent to me the best of who Americans are. And Frederick County Public Schools has a lot of good people, a lot of good people in it. I know that having had 4 kids who went through the school district, I actually have one now who's a teacher at Oakdale High School. I'm very proud of that. But I just want you to know that my bank colleagues at Woodsboro Bank and I are thrilled to have the opportunity to be the sponsor and continue to be the sponsor. And I just want you to know, very simply, to all our veterans, that as the son of a Marine, it is your service and your example that inspired him to be where he is today, serving our country. So thank you. Thank you for that very much.
It is truly a privilege to have this opportunity to recognize the service of these dedicated FCPS employees. You have served our country, and you have been nominated because your colleagues see the incredible service you continue to deliver to the students and staff across Frederick County Public Schools. So when I read your name, if you would come forward so we can recognize you. We're supposed to be refraining from handshaking because of the pandemic. We haven't done too well with that so far this morning, but I'm going to give you a virtual hug as you come up. And I ask the audience to please hold your applause until all of our nominees' names have been read. And I'm sure we're going to get a beautiful group photo up here. Oh, okay. So Juana Anderson is a resident substitute at Thurmont Middle School and was a member of the U.S. Army, and I believe is unable to be with us today because she's serving her family in a different way right now. David Brucci, a maintenance area foreman from Urbana High School, U.S. Navy, and a pretty good golfer, too. But be warned, if you play him, he will brag if he beats you. Lillian Darlene Ingley, an instructional assistant in special education from Rock Creek School, served in the U.S. Army and now serves some of our special needs students. And I want to thank her principal, Katie Buckley, who I see here celebrating with her today. Lillian, I have something for you too. And a virtual hug. Randy Kirkland, English teacher, Linganore High School, U.S. Air Force. Thank you. I see Aaron Phillips, AP at Linganore. Randy, a virtual hug for you as well. Ronald Payton, teacher, special education, Middletown High School, U.S. Navy. And thank you, Mr. Casada, for being here to celebrate Ronald as well. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you so much. Uh-oh, this is the U.S. Army, Colleen. But that's okay. You still like people from the Navy, right? Oh, that was a loaded question. I am so sorry. Don't take my virtual hug back.
No virtual hug. 101st Airborne, Colonel. 101st Airborne.
There you go. All right, got some pride going here. I forgot about that game. Yeah, that game. That'll be. So this next gentleman, I have to say, I know he provides an incredible service to his school, but what I don't know is if he knows the service he provides, if anyone has ever walked into Frederick High School, the warmth, the genuine caring and love that exudes from this man is unbelievable. So Carl Reed, School Secretary, Frederick High School, U.S. Army. And thank you, Dr. Francis Sheena, for being here to celebrate him today. Congratulations. And now we're going to recognize two of our administrators who, again, service to our country and an incredible service, particularly in the last 18 months for our students, but also to staff as you've navigated so many, many challenges. So I want to recognize Dr. Christine Samuels, an assistant principal at West Frederick Middle School, U.S. Army. And last but not least, Dr. Joshua Work, principal of Governor Thomas Johnson Middle School, U.S. Marine Corps. You can do a big hoorah if you want. Hoorah. Congratulations, Josh. Let's thank each of our nominees for their continued service to our community. So at the conclusion of our ceremony, before you get to eat any of the delicious sweets that are back there, we're going to ask you to come together so that we can take a photo. And in the coming weeks, our selection committee will complete the arduous task of identifying this year's award recipient. And we hope that everyone will join us at a Board of Education meeting when we will officially recognize this year's Veteran in Education Service awardee. Tiana, back to you.
Today, we are very honored to have with us Colonel John Furr, United States Air Force retired. To introduce Colonel Furr is his son, Paul, who is the principal of Middletown Middle School.
My father was born in San Pedro, California, the son of Italian and Croatian parents. He attended, he attended both Catholic and public schools, graduating from San Pedro High School. He attended the University of Southern California for 3 years, and then the United States Air Force Academy. Upon graduation from the Academy in 1962, he was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force. My father moved on to pilot training and flew B-47 jet bombers in the Strategic Air Command, standing nuclear alert both in the United States and overseas. As the Vietnam War expanded, he transitioned to the EB-66C and was deployed to Thailand to fly electronic surveillance and countermeasure missions over North Vietnam. It was on his 54th mission over the North on February 4th, 1967, while flying in a highly defended area near Hanoi, that he was shot down by surface-to-air missiles and became prisoner of the North Vietnamese communists for more than 6 years. As a POW, he lived in the same rooms and camps with many brave and talented POWs, such as Senator John McCain, Senator Jeremiah Denton, Texas Congressman Sam Johnson, as well as Medal of Honor recipients Bud Day and Leo Thorsness, learning firsthand what leadership under adverse conditions required of an individual. He served on the commander's clandestine communications team, whose task it was to transmit the directives and instructions for resistance from the senior ranking officer to all POWs, often at the great risk of torture or other punishments. At the same time, he also served as one of the room chaplains to conduct Sunday services for the other POWs. My father was released on March 4th, 1973, and returned home. After recuperating, he attended Commander and Staff College, following which he resumed his flying career in the F-111 fighter airplane. He later served in many staff positions, most notably as the principal advisor to the Secretary of Defense for POW and MIA Affairs at the Pentagon, and as the chief of the European Field Office to oversee the implementation of the INF Treaty signed by President Ronald Reagan and Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev, a treaty to eliminate intermediate range and shorter range missiles in Europe. After 28 years, my father completed military service, but he did not retire to take up recreation sports. Instead, he continued to give to his country by teaching history and government, followed by a 14-year career as a Catholic elementary school principal in California. My father holds 2 master's degrees, one in political science from Auburn University, and the other in educational administration from the University of South Carolina. He and my mother have 3 grown children. My brother, a foreign service officer with the Department of State, myself, a middle school principal at Middletown Middle, and my sister, an early childhood school teacher. My mother and father permanently reside here in Frederick, Maryland. So I ask you to please joining me as we welcome my father and my hero, Colonel John Furr.
You know, Colleen told me, can you hear me okay? Okay. I'd take it off, but I'm afraid somebody in here is going to report me to Dr. Fauci without wearing a mask. Colleen has done a lot of work. I want to acknowledge Colleen Bernard at the outset because she's done so much hard work for a number of years with this event. Besides her challenges as an outstanding teacher and other jobs that Dr. Albin might assign to her. But let me be very brief in my remarks. First of all, acknowledging Dr. Albin, Dr. Marco, and President Mason, and the board that he chairs, and Mr. Hine, whom I think we've met before from Woodsboro, and for the first time this go around, Colonel Schumacher, for all of your service too, sir. I'd be remiss if I did not mention the choral group and the wonderful, talented young people that comprise that group. They're just individually and collectively beautiful voices, well led, and my father-in-law would be very proud because he was a violinist in the community orchestra in New Jersey where he lived as a youngster. But he would be very proud of them. I want to add one thing to what Dr. Albin said about families. Not all the sacrifices are made by married enlisted people. We saw that in part on the ramp, the parking area at Kabul airport recently, where we lost 13. Some unmarried. They will never see their children play soccer. They will never coach a soccer team. The one young man, will never see his unborn child. So there are some very, very serious sacrifices that our service people make. Not all are married. Most of them are single, who have heard the call from their country to serve. So I would like to ask you to, when you have an opportunity, to say a silent prayer for those that never had the opportunities that we might have, or that those who survive as veterans from conflicts have. Now, those who have served and those currently serving in the armed forces of the United States are themselves ever mindful of the sweetness of enduring peace that has always been tainted by the bitterness of personal sacrifice. Today, we're compelled to never forget, as on all Veterans Days, that while we enjoy our daily pleasures, there are others who have endured and may still be enduring the agonies of pain, deprivation, and internment. And before we end our program today, we will pause to recognize our prisoners of war and our missing in action. There are still nearly 1,500 men and women that are unaccounted for in the Vietnam War, and many, many hundreds more from the Korean War and the World War II and all the other conflicts that we've fought. We continually try to account for them, but the sad fact remains that they are unaccounted for. So today, we call your attention to this small table off to my left, which occupies a place of dignity and honor. It is set for one, symbolizing the fact that members of our armed forces are missing from our ranks. We call them POWs and MIAs. We call them comrades. They are unable to be with their loved ones and families today, so we join together to pay a humble tribute to them and bear witness to their continued absence. This table, set for one, is small. It symbolizes the frailty of one prisoner alone against his or her oppressors. The tablecloth is white, symbolic of the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. The single red rose in the vase signifies the blood they have shed to ensure the freedom of our beloved United States of America. The rose also reminds us of the family and friends who keep the faith while awaiting their return. The yellow ribbon in the vase represents those who demand a final accounting of our comrades who are not among us today. The slice of lemon on the plate reminds us of their bitter fate. The salt, when sprinkled onto the plate, reminds us of the countless fallen tears of the families as they wait. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us this day. And the chair is empty. They are not here. The candle is reminiscent of the light of hope which lives in our hearts to illuminate their way home, away from their captors, and into the open arms of a grateful nation. Let us remember them and never forget their sacrifices. May we be ever vigilant of their sacrifices and strive to bring them home.
Thank you, everyone, for taking time to come to our program today. Representative Dan Lipinski said, "On the battlefield, the military pledges to leave no soldier behind. As a nation, let it be our pledge that when they return home, we leave no veteran behind. Let us dedicate ourselves to ensuring that every veteran is valued, their families supported, and the democratic ideals for which they served and sacrificed is preserved." This concludes today's program. We ask for our special guests, including our nominees, to come forward so they can take photos. We invite everyone to participate in our Cards for Veterans activity set up in the back of the room. Please take a few minutes to write a note that will be sent to our area veterans in hospitals and retirement homes. Then, please join us as we honor our nominees with a brief reception. Thank you.